14th of March, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos. Morning, Meir.
Good morning, Lou.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Amari.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Lou. Good morning, Roy. Good morning.
Mazel tov. I heard everything went very well last night.
Good morning, man. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Very, very nice simcha. Baruch Hashem and Mary.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
As Hashem will be able to have more simchas and share simchas with you all. Mitzvah Hashem, we should all be zoichet to have simchas in your mishpachas and Chol Yisrael. Be'ezer Hashem.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen, amen.
Realize, should know that the biggest simcha is learning Torah. That's as difficult as it may be for us to realize it, but the biggest simcha is learning Torah, because that's simcha that lasts forever and ever. Right? It may not be as intense as dancing and drinking, singing and all that, but it's something that lasts forever. Barry, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Glad to see you make it back.
I told everybody it was a very Labor Day Chassan.
Baruch Hashem. Yeah, indeed it was. Baruch Hashem. Okay, good. So let's begin. Good morning again, everyone. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Samanafshi here in Shleim through Zoom. We're learning Pirkei Avos and the Megillas Esther. We're in the Shua Shachalbo of Purim. Another few days we'll be celebrating Purim here in Yerushalayim and the rest of the world. And let's see, can someone just remind me which I think we're in the fourth parak, is that? Did we finish the third parak already? I'm just at home now, so I don't have the markers where I left off in the
I think it's the fifth parak in Vav.
fifth parak involved.
I concur.
Okay, very good. Any volunteers to read?
I do.
Okay. Any
I'd like to.
objections? No?
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Vayomer Hamelech leEsther v'mishtei hayayin ma she'elo secha ma she'elo seich vayanoten lach ma bekashoteich ad chatzei hamalchus v'teach. And the king said to Esther during the wine banquet, "What is your petition? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it shall be fulfilled." Wow.
Right. So obviously in the question in the pasuk here, there's obvious question. Why is the repetition here? Right? The Achashverosh was saying, "Ma shalasek, what is your request? And it'll be granted to you, given to you. What's your supplication? Meaning, why these two things? Ma shalasek, my bekashasek. Two different, apparently different requests, two different offers of giving requests, right?
I'm sorry, where are we? I've got it on 5, parak 3, is it? No.
No, in the fifth parak, the 6th verse, 5-6.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a footnote that says request is for something personal for yourself. That's she'ela seich, and kashaseich is a petition for others.
Mm-hmm.
So one is personal and the other is for others.
Okay, very good. So let's see if Esther answers in kind. She's obviously given a personal ability to ask from the king, and also given a communal ability to ask on the behalf of others. Let's see if she answers that one.
Okay, Vata'an Esther, and Esther replied, Vatomer, and said, She'elati uvikash vikashoti my petition and my request is as follows. Im mitzoti chen b'nei hamelech, if I have found favor in the king's eyes, the im al hamelech tov letet et sheloti, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition, v'lasot et bekashoti, and to fill my request, Yova hamelech v'Haman el hamishte, let the king and Haman come to the banquet. Asher esa lahem, that I come to the banquet that I have prepared for them. Umachar, and tomorrow esa kedavor hamelech, and tomorrow I will do the king's bidding.
Oh, so does Esther's reply fit in with the criteria that we said in the previous process, that the kasha seich is something communal and shalas seich is something individual?
Right, it's for her and for the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Right.
surprised that the king had the finesse to ask those two kinds of requests.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It doesn't seem to me that she's asking that way. It seems to me that she's treating them as synonyms.
Mhm. Okay, and okay, I just want to go back to what Roy's comment was, that that you would think that the king would be normally more abrupt in his offering of help to somebody, not to open it to both communal and to individual private help, right?
Right, yeah, I would have thought he would say, okay, what do you want?
Mhm, mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
it.
right.
What can I do for you? You know, something. But
Seems, and Ad Chetzi Amalkus, there's also that statement that the Meforshim definitely speak about Ad Chetzi Amalkus. I mean, where do you see, what's that supposed to mean? Does it really realistically mean that Achashverosh was willing to give Esther half of the kingdom? That's a pretty nice gift, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Gives that away, so what he's going to have left? Only half for himself. It's a very big request. And so now let's go to what was in fact Esther's reply, right? All she wanted, she had just asked what if the king was found favor in favor in her eyes, right?
Yeah.
But, simply let me have the chance that Shiloh says that the Shiloh C was that, and the Lasos es precociously, right? Lases es Shiloh C and Lasos es precociously, right? Now, so how does it? Is this really an answer to Achashverosh's granting Esther the ability to ask for what she wants, or is this just a preface? Meaning, was the Suda the place where she was really going to answer Achashverosh? Meaning, is this a direct answer to the king's request to find out what she's interested in getting from him, or is the Esther's request for the Suda simply just the lead up to these two requests that she's going to have?
It seems to be the lead up, because she's saying that if we have this banquet, then I will reveal. She's not revealing anything yet.
No, she's not. She didn't. All she asked for, right? Tomish, that Vatan Esther Vitomer Shelasi Ubikashasi. So, and how do this is Pasuk Zayin in Ches? How do you put these two psukim together, Bechla? What does it mean, Ta'an Esther Vitomer Shelasi Ubikashasi?
I've got a note here that the second banquet the first banquet, Haman might have been a bit worried and connected somehow connected the banquet with the edict he did. He thought it might be something to do with that. So he was apprehensive. But with his flattery and all that, what? And with the flattery that went on about him and all that in the first banquet. In the second banquet, all his defences were down. So he was vulnerable to what Esther was going to do to him.
Okay, very good. And
I also have a footnote that is interesting. It says that Esther promised, tomorrow I will do what the king has asked me many times. I will reveal my people and my ancestry.
so that's a personal request or it's a communal request? Again, Akashverosh said, look, Esther, I'm giving you the opportunity to make a personal request and make a communal request, right? So I would imagine she better come up with both requests. He's saying, look, tell me what you want for your personal needs and tell me what you want for your communal needs. And so Ta'an Esther, but Shaylasi with Bikashi. What's not sure. What does that pasuk mean exactly? With Ta'an Esther. She replied.
Well, I think maybe based on the footnote, maybe what it's saying is that she's combining it into both, because she's asking for the well-being of the Jewish people, which is for others, but she's now going to reveal that she's Jewish.
Right.
And that it's not only for others, but it's also for herself.
Mm-hmm.
For herself, she might, Rachashverosh might think, well, she's going to ask me to have a golden crown made for her. That's a personal request. And then her communal request would be, this family you're very curious about. I'd like my brothers to become, governors of provinces.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would be normally what you would think.
Right.
One is a direct personal thing, or she would say, like, I want my own credit card, in my name. Okay,
Right.
That's a personal request. But a communal request that she's asking, because of her position for her family to benefit. I think that's probably what Akashverosh thought.
Mm-hmm. And what about Esther's own words, right? Esther's in Pasuk Ches. Let's look at Pasuk Ches again.
Okay.
Let's read it over again, Mary.
Okay. Yes. The imut l'mutzasichein b'nei hamelech, and if I have found favor in the king's eyes, the im al hamelech tov l'teit et she'aloti, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition, v'lasos et hakashati, and to fulfill my request, Yovo HaMelech v'Haman el HaMishteh, let the king and Haman come to the banquet, Asher Eseh Lahem, that I'm going to make for them.
Right.
Mechar Eseh Kedavar HaMelech, and tomorrow I will do the king's bidding. It seems like this word lahem.
Yeah, Barry.
It should be lachem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will make. It says I will make for them. She's talking to the king, so she
Right.
should be saying lachem or lacha. not
Um,
lahem.
Right.
I'm going to make it for them. Who's them? She's talking to the person she's going to make it for.
Unless she's including Haman, and it would be plural if it's including Haman, which she hasn't really mentioned yet.
Well, she does say, yeah. Well, she does mention Haman.
Well,
V'yavo hamelech v'Haman.
well, yeah. How did he? How did he
And
know
I will
it was
make.
Haman?
But
How did he know that?
it's like saying if I say Lou and Mayor, I'm inviting you to for lunch tomorrow, and I'm going to make a big lunch for them. I wouldn't say that. I would say, Lou and Mayor, come to lunch tomorrow. I'm going to make a lunch for you.
Right.
I'm not going to make a lunch for them. It's like we're talking about a third party.
Right.
So I mean, it to me it sticks out.
Right. I hear.
Well, the interesting part is also that the following phrase, and tomorrow I will do the king's bidding. That's also third party, whatever it is. It's,
Tell me. Yeah. That I hear. Now that you mentioned that, Roy, tell us what was the king's bidding?
but we're not, well, what like Lou said, I think, he keeps on asking her, who are you, where you're from, what's your family?
Mhm.
That
So
sort
you
of
think
that's,
that's a remiss? That's a remiss to her making a statement. Jewish citizen.
well, it could be the king being Hashem, in which case, what was Hashem's bidding?
Yeah. Yavo Melech Haman. She asked, so she's definitely, I think definitely by asking that Haman and that the king and Haman should come to the Mishnah, that's like a personal request, right?
Well,
Go ahead, Barry. What?
a kasha, when you're asking a kasha it has the sensibility of something difficult. That's like we say, it's a kasha,
Right.
It's a difficulty. It's a difficult question.
Right.
As opposed to sha'alti, a shoel is I don't know what you would call it. It's a request. It's not as, I don't know, not as difficult.
Could be. Shaila could be more straightforward. Bakasha is usually representing something which is more of a serious type of request.
Right, more difficult.
Yeah. So
I mean, when we say, like, if we have a difficulty in the Gemara, we say, oh, that's a shaila, sha'el, right? That's a shaila. It's a question. But when it's very difficult, it's a kasha.
right.
So she may be saying, I'm going to ask one thing that you won't find so difficult, but another thing is really going to be difficult for you to fulfill. So she's setting him up.
Right. Okay. Good.
Does that work?
Yeah. It works. I think it's a good meaning. Her shaila is her shaila. Do you want to say that the shaila was just to have the Mishnah the next day, to have another opportunity to talk with the king?
No, I think that was, I think she was saying, I'm going to answer both tomorrow at the banquet.
Right. Okay. Let's see the next part. Let's see how the psukim fit in here.
Okay. Tess?
Yeah.
Vayetze Haman, Bayom Hahu, Someach, v'tov lev. And Haman went out on that day happy and with a cheerful heart,
Why was Haman happy? What made him happy?
because he was included. He's saying, wow, Esther's making, Esther's making this big Sauda and inviting her husband, and I'm included, because I'm the prime minister, I guess.
Okay.
I think that's
Good.
what he probably
That-
that's
that-
what he said. Yeah.
That's simple enough, right? Very good.
I think he's joyful and exuberant because Hashem wants him to be so in order for the contrast of what's coming next,
Uh-huh.
to
Okay.
show how he can be swayed so easily in
Mhm.
his moods.
Mhm.
Okay. Good.
Uvechiros Haman et Mordechai b'sha'ar hamelech. And when when Haman saw Mordechai at the king's gate, velo kom, velo, and he didn't stand up or even acknowledge him, and it's a vayamale Haman al Mordechai Hema, and he was filled with anger against Mordechai.
Yeah, like fury, really bad anger.
Yeah, I mean this was Pachim Punim.
Right. Correct. Good. Next.
Vayit apek Haman, but Haman controlled himself. Vayavo el beito, and he came home. Vayavo et Ohavav ve'ed Zeresh, and he brought his friends and Zerach his wife.
Hmm.
He called them to come to his house,
Hmm.
have a conference,
Right. Okay. What
and tell
happened?
them, guess where I'm invited tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Vayesaper Haman lahem Haman, and Haman recounted to them et kavod Esra v'rov banav ve'es kol asher gidlo hamelech ve'et asher nase al hasarim v'avdei hamelech. And Haman recounted to them the glory of his riches and the multitude of his sons and all the ways that the king had promoted him. And he had exalted him over the princes and the king's servants. Oh, so in other words, there were other people who could have been invited, right?
Right.
Right. It's like getting invited to the White House.
Right. Good. You know about that, right, Barry?
Yeah, no, I do. I was once,
I know.
seriously, I was once invited to the White House.
Yeah, I remember you telling us, right?
Yeah, because it was the problem. It was a similar situation. I went with Isaac Friedman, who was he was on the board of Aguda, and we were in New York on business, and we stopped at the Aguda headquarters. And of course, when they saw him, it was like they gave him such covet, and I was with him, so they figured, oh, they didn't know I was a schlepper. So they think, oh, he must be with Isaac Friedman. He must be a important person.
Right.
So a few days later, I got a invitation in the mail,
Hmm.
inviting me the Gouda was sending I don't know, 10, 15 people to the White House to meet with President Bush. And they invited me to attend. So I called them up and I said, you're making a mistake. You don't need me there. Yeah. So I respectfully declined.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you could have gone and asked him to let my people go.
It was a whole big thing, with the security and and that's not why I didn't go. I didn't go because I didn't belong there. I wasn't in that league.
Mm.
Right. Okay.
Meet the president, you have to, you have to be a big person.
Mhm. So very good. So the Pasuk explains how Haman was very happy. Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Vayomer Yud Beis. Vayomer Haman Af Lo Havia Esther Hamalka Ve'im Hamelech Et Hamishte Asher Asa Ki Im Osi V'gam Lemochar Ani Koru La Im Hamelech. And Haman said, Esther did not even bring anyone to the party that she made except me. And tomorrow I am also invited to be to her with the king.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. He didn't say I don't belong there.
Right. Very good. Right. Next, let's see further. Goes that.
Oh, b'chol zeh. Oh, he's still speaking. This is Haman speaking. B'chol zeh enenu shovali b'chol eitz asher ani ro'eh et Mordechai HaYehudi v'yoshev b'sha'ar hamelech. But all this is worth nothing to me every time I see Mordechai the Jew sitting in the king's gate and not standing up and all that.
Right. So that was inspirational in a way, no?
Inspirational for him? For Haman?
What do you think?
Oh yeah, he was very, instead of just being happy he's going to the banquet, he's all focused on the Mordechai won't stand up for him.
Right.
Very small person.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's inspirational. I would say it's depressing.
You think he was actually depressed?
Yeah, he says all this means nothing to me, as long as Mordecai is insulting me.
I think he
No,
was
what do you
annoyed
think?
more than depressed. Depressed, I don't think he was depressed. I think he was more annoyed. He was, yeah,
Annoyance.
Bitter,
It was
bitter.
annoyance.
bitter and annoyed.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it says he was very angry at Mordechai.
All right, very angry rather than annoyed. Yeah, I was being, yeah.
Vayamole Haman al Mordechai Hema. I mean, he was really he was burning rage.
Mm, mm.
Right.
No, I think
It seems that way, right?
looks that way.
And just because of Mordecai not bowing down to him, that set him off.
Right.
Mhm. It says here.
That was his downfall.
Mhm.
In the end, I mean, but
Right.
here's a good example about how important a wife is.
Yeah. It could
But
be.
Tomer-
that also What's that?
Huh?
It says also, it says, Ani roa es Mordechai Yehudi Yoshe B'Shar Melech, right? So he mentions him by Mordechai Yehudi. It could be that if it was another person from another people, Haman might not get so angry at.
Anti-Semitic.
Well, that's what I learned from the
Excuse me, he was the descendant of Amalek, and Amalek hated the Jews. That's the bottom line for all this conversation. He hated the Jews, and that's why he was unhappy.
So do you think if it was a Philippine that didn't bow down to him, you think he would be so upset?
Probably not. That's one interpretation.
He mentions him. He mentions Mordecai by being a Yehudi, so that I guess that's significant. That bothered him as well. That would make sense if he's an Amalek, right?
Well, he wasn't a Malay. He was.
He was, yeah.
So
So can we say it was just stam anti-Semitism, or was something deeper than that?
what's deeper?
Deeper,
It was in his DNA.
right?
That's what it is. Full
You know,
stop.
a similar situation to that. A family told me that a Frum family hired a maid to come from Poland to work in their house, and she lived in their house with them, and she did the cooking. I don't know, the cleaning, whatever. This Polish lady. And she was there for a few years, and finally she made the money she wanted to make, and she said, I'm going to go back to Poland now. And they treated her like family.
Right.
When they took her to the airport, and they escorted her to the final gate that they couldn't go through, she turned around to them and she said, "I'll see you in Auschwitz." That's what she said.
I believe it.
It's just a true story. "I'll see you in Auschwitz," and then turned around and continued walking.
I have a concern, this idea that, well, he's from Amalek and Amalek hates the Jews, and therefore that's the whole story. The danger to that is that it's a way to abrogate responsibility for our actions. It really has very little to do with Haman. It has to do with our actions vis-a-vis Hashem. And Hashem is not happy with us because of what we're doing. And therefore Hashem empowers Amalek to be able to rise up against us. It's like the dog, dog runs in the street and almost gets hit by a car. The owner pulls the dog out of the street and whacks him with a stick. And the dog bites the stick. The dog is missing the point. The stick is nothing. The stick, if the dog manages to bite the stick and break it up and destroy it, so the owner will just get another stick. The stick is irrelevant. What's relevant is that the dog misbehaved, and the owner's trying to teach him so that he doesn't get killed by being hit by a car. So the same thing with the Jewish people. Hashem is using Amalek as an implement to have an impact on the Jewish people so that we'll correct our ways. And if we just say, "Oh, it's Amalek hates us, therefore that's what happened," we're missing the point.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Lou, and I agree with it. The only question I have is in this particular instance with Haman's reaction to Mordechai, can he apply what you're saying to Haman's reaction? Meaning-
No, you can't, because Haman has free will. The stick doesn't have free will. Everybody
Yeah.
has free will. In other words, Haman has free will to say, the Jews have been, made a big contribution to our community, and they live a quiet life. They raise their children. They're not, they're not criminals and gangsters and blah, 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 smugglers, whatever you want to say. But no, he had the free will to do that. Otherwise, he wouldn't be punished. He wouldn't have gotten hung if he had no free will.
So,
He made the choices.
right, he's making the choices, correct. But okay, so hold on to that, Barry, for a moment. I just want to readdress what Lou's comment was, that can we apply that what Lou is saying, which is basically true. Everything we always have to, the true Jewish attitude is that we have to realize that anything that is happening to us is really basically a outcome of our own decisions, our own thoughts, our own words that we say, our own thoughts that we think, our own behavior. And it's not at all a Torah perspective to just simply pass the buck and blame somebody else for the things that are happening to us. We have to take responsibility for our own actions, and therefore realize that many of the things that occur to us are really outcomes of our own actions, consequences of them. So here, when you come to this, because we're discussing this specific instance of the interaction right now in terms of Mordechai's refusal to bow down to Haman, right? So that's a discussion which takes place in terms of was Mordechai really correct in doing what he's doing? Number one. Number two, and we touched on that a few days ago. Number two, is it reasonable to say that even, let's say, Mordechai was justified in what he was doing, and therefore he was not doing anything wrong? So, and if that's the case, how would we explain Haman's reaction to it? Here you see, if Mordechai is in fact doing something correct, meaning not to bow down to Haman, not to bow down to this false god, or the false god that he may have wrapped around his neck, hanging from his neck, whatever it might be. But if he was in fact doing correctly by doing that, so why should there be a consequence of this reaction of Haman?
So I would say it's because Hashem is empowering him. We see very clearly from the events of Purim,
Right.
this principle that when we're not doing the right thing, then Hashem empowers Haman, and he rises up in the hierarchy, and he gets the ear of the king, and the king gives him his ring, and he says, go do what you want. And he's becoming more and more powerful in control. And then what happens? We start doing the right thing, and it all turns around, because Haman is not in control. Hashem's in control. Haman's a constant. He wants to get us. He wants to get us in the beginning. He wants to get us in the middle. He wants to get us in the end. He's always wanting to get us. That's Reb Aaron's point, that he's Amalek. He hates the Jews. That's a given. But the unfolding of events has nothing to do with him. it's all Hashem. The Purim story shows us that as soon as Hashem decides to change things, they change.
Okay, good. I understand and agree basically about what you're saying. But we are time to take a break for this year now, so I don't want to go into a more fuller discussion about this point. But clean that and mark down that we're at this point here, and we're discussing these points, and we continue these tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, thank you. We'll be starting this year in Mr. Brew in a few minutes.